my name is Mark Gregorio. I'm with the Stratasys software team. And as mentioned, the goal of this webinar is to introduce you to the new 3D printing software for the J750 as well as other Stratasys FDM printers. It's called GrabCAD Print. I'll take about 30 minutes or so to talk about 4 things. First, we'll take a moment to go over the overall GrabCAD platform. Second, we'll review some of the things we've learned, at least the Stratasys software team has learned, by interviewing many customers before we built the GrabCAD Print software. We'll then walk through some of the key benefits of the software, and finally I'll dive in and show you a live demo. Let's get started. Okay, so as I mentioned, so the first product, if you will, for the GrabCAD platform is the GrabCAD community. It's made up of almost 4 million engineers, and they're sharing over 1 million CAD files with each other on a daily basis. There's also an extensive knowledge base of tutorials and challenges where companies use the power of the community to come up with new and innovative designs. Hopefully many of you are members of this. Second, we have the GrabCAD Workbench. This is a cloud-based collaboration tool that lets engineers, manufacturers, and suppliers manage CAD files and collaborate on projects remotely. And then finally, as I mentioned, the GrabCAD Print software. This is our first product for the AM world, with many more products to come and many more platforms to support, and I'll get into the details of this in just a moment. So let's first talk about, again, what we uncovered as we interviewed many customers. We found that the 3D printers users have been struggling to find a seamless workflow to go from design to physical print. There's just no streamlined way to do this. The process typically starts with an engineer designing in CAD, saving it out as an STL file. This strips away the assembly associativity of the CAD file and is just prone to error. The engineer then emails the file to the printer operator or RP manager. We found that this is also error prone, and ultimately the files are uncontrolled. Then, many times mesh healing software is used to repair the file. Of course, again, these are the STL files. And then finally, many people use other software packages to send to the printer. Of course, for the Stratasys printers, we have Catalyst, Insight, Object Studio, PolyJet Studio. Ultimately, people attempt to use software packages like Outlook and then Excel spreadsheets just to manually track all the different data and the prints from folks in the company. Users just have limited accessibility to the tools they need, as well as limited data to make proper business decisions. These are the problems that we're trying to solve here. And ultimately, all of these tools require a deep level expertise, training, certification, as I'm sure all of you are very much aware. So what we did, of course, is we introduced GrabCAD Print as the first step towards solving these problems. We haven't solved all of them yet, but the software's been out for 6 or 7 months now, and we continue to improve it and put out new updates every month, on the month. So it's around the 10th or 15th of the month. You can download the software at any point. I'll go through that in just a moment. But there are 2 main applications for the GrabCAD Print solution. The first is a cloud-connected desktop application. You can also use it in offline mode. We can answer any questions about that as well. And then the second is a mobile application you can use on your iPhone or Android to monitor prints. There's 3 main points that everyone should understand. First, the application is very easy to use, and when I pop it up, you'll see that. We feel that anyone in an organization should be able to use the 3D printer and not have to get trained on it. Of course, there's going to be many pieces of functionality that are going to be behind the scenes, but we ultimately try to make everything as simple and easy to use as possible. Second, monitoring jobs is very simple. We have unique scheduling capabilities that I'll show in just a moment as well. And then third, the tool is cloud connected, and the idea is to provide greater accessibility to the printers. So that was a high level rundown of the solution. Now we can kind of run through some of the features. In terms of CAD data, we allow the ability to import files like SolidWorks, CATIA, Creo, NX, Solid Edge, virtually all the major CAD files. And the idea again is to eliminate the need to translate to STL. Okay, so colors come along with CAD files. We maintain the associativity of all the components in the assemblies. So this is a major feature that many customers are enjoying today. And again, as you would expect with any print preparation tool, you can move, rotate, scale, duplicate parts on the tray. And I can show some of those features as well. You can set properties, assign materials. There is, well, we have incorporated a validation tool or a repair tool. This is a one-click fix for files. If you do choose to use STL files, it doesn't completely replace applications like Magix or anything like that, but it does fix many of the files. We've incorporated a technology that has been developed over 15 years or so it's very robust. We've also incorporated the ability to do multiple trays. This helps end users organize their projects. Let's say you had to print 100 components. You can't obviously fit them all on, or sometimes you can't fit them all on a single tray. And rather than having multiple projects out there or multiple files, you can maintain all the files in a single project with multiple trays. We've included the ability to view the slices in 3D. Here's just a screenshot of the what it looks like. I can show that as well in live. We've translated the software into multiple languages. These are some of the languages that we've incorporated thus far. And as I mentioned earlier, the scheduling is now in a format that is clear, visible. There's a lot of information on the screen for folks throughout the company to see exactly where their print is and where other people's prints are. And of course the remote monitoring. This is a couple screenshots of what the iPhone app looks like. As I mentioned, it's also on the Android, and many people use this to view what the printer's doing, let's say at home or when they're away from their desk. Very helpful in this respect. And finally, as part of a launch recently, we've introduced an add-in where you can do some of the basics of print prep. You can select a printer, select materials, all within the CAD system itself. So here's a screenshot of SolidWorks. There's a tab up above, and you can use the print prep features and send it directly to a Stratasys printer. Send your part files directly to a Stratasys printer. As I mentioned earlier, we have incorporated reporting capabilities, so you can review material usage, the print utilization, the printer history, and those are in nice charts and graphs. You can also download the file as a spreadsheet. Okay, some of the features and functions of the software are specific to the J750. These things are, as I mentioned earlier, when the CAD file is imported into GrabCAD Print, we preserve the original colors of the CAD file itself. So we're making strides towards maintaining all of the information in the CAD file itself, and as I mentioned, to get rid of that STL file in the future. By the way, not to get rid of it completely. Of course, there's scan data out there, but a majority of the files come from a CAD system or a design or something to that effect. But as I mentioned, you can still use the STL files and fix them and all that kind of stuff as needed. So again, with the PolyJet technology, of course, there's colors. You can set those properties. We are currently supporting the J750. Other PolyJet technologies will come in the future. Please stay tuned for those. We've added many of the features that were in PolyJet Studio and Object Studio into this new platform, such as the shore values, and of course transparency. This is a major improvement. We modified the software such that you can now print quite a few components on the tray. So the software is capable of handling a full tray, which has helped many customers. So with that, I think I'll pause here before we actually go just one more slide here, and then we'll pause. But we are supporting most of the FDM printers, Stratasys printers, at least the ones that are current, and as well as those legacy supported printers here that I listed on the screen. We also, of course, support the J750 and the brand new F123 series that has just come out, I'll say maybe a week now. So a couple of the features that I talked about, but maybe we can now show a little bit more clearly. If I click on a face, or if I want to position that particular model, I can select Orient Face, select a face visually here, and place it down on the tray. Likewise, I can do any of the components that I want, and then rearrange the tray so that all the components fit together a little closer. By the way, you notice the colors are maintained. If I want to go ahead and select a particular component and change the color, I can very easily go in and change as many colors as I need to here, selecting magenta, and I can select, as I mentioned earlier, some of the shore A level. I can select the grid style and things like that. Right now, so when I select the offline, I can select the offline printers, or I am logged in to the Boston account here. So I'm not in Boston at the moment, but I can see the printers. We have the 250 running. We also have the F370. If I select this particular printer, it will, of course, modify the tray, readjust all the components onto the tray, and at this point I could hit print, and it will send that job to the printer. I'm in Minnesota at the moment, and I could send this over to Boston. What I will do is take a component here and move it to a second tray, and I can go ahead and select these components. If I want to select different properties for each one, I will say this one I want the fill style to be high density. For this one I want it to be low density, and slice height. Well, these are the tray settings, so that's of course throughout the tray, but I can select the model settings parameters. So let's say this particular one I want surround for the support style, and this one I will leave it as smart, and then we'll go ahead and slice this up. As I mentioned, in the FDM printer line, we can see each of the different slices. So right now it's going through and calculating all those slices, and it will show me a 3D preview in just a moment. Takes a few seconds. It shows me a progress bar here as it's running through the slices. And when it's completed, I can also see the estimate of the job, how long it will take to print the job. And we do have the ability to do animation. So I don't know if this is coming through okay here, but ultimately you can see the different slices, and we can animate that and show the details of the fill patterns and everything. Okay, bring that up a little bit clearer. So I selected a surround for the support on this particular model, and I selected a smart support for this one. So you can see the two different styles. We can also do up to layer. So I can scroll through the layers by using this slider on the side here. And you can see the fill pattern is quite different from one component to the other, even though they're the same component. We can view the estimate, as I mentioned earlier. So this particular print is going to be 1 hour and 2 minutes. That's the number. That's the actual model material and the support material used. This is all taken into account and calculated. If I hit the print button at this point, I could switch over to the actual schedule view for the, let's say this is the 250. I can see that there's two projects in line here. One is 7 hours and 50 minutes. This one is the same one, but I can see all the different printers in Boston and where they're at the moment. And this is all because I'm logged in. As I mentioned earlier, we do have an offline mode. If I log out, of course, I will not be able to see remote printers, but I will still be able to see all the local printers that I have available in the office on the same network as me. So I can just pause here to see if there's additional questions on this stuff. Sounds like many of you have used the application. Go ahead.
We had one question not related to what you showed, but right in the beginning, Arif is asking, as a reseller, is there any way that we can monitor our customers' material usage? Let's assume the customer agrees to share this information with us.
Yeah, that's a good question. You can, again, if they allow you to see or they invite you to their account. For example, I'm on, like I said, the Boston account. I can switch accounts here, and I have been invited to multiple accounts, some of which are mine, some of are other people's. So for example, the Talon office, I can see their usage and their schedule. So what you would want to do as a reseller is ask your customer if you can be invited to the particular account, and then you'll be able to see that information along with them. So this is probably a good time to maybe point out that we do have the ability to do that material usage and printer utilization, print history. Again, I am logged in to the Boston account on this particular one, but I can log into any other one as well. And by the way, this is also right within the browser, so you don't even need to have a desktop application open at all. In this case, I can see here these are the materials that are utilized. I can select the different printers. I can even select the timeline. So for example, if I want to see in the week of the 22nd for January, for a single week, from the 22nd to the 28th, I can see how much material was utilized. I can see what printers were used here. I can shut off any, if I want to clean up the graph a little bit, turn them back on if I need to. And then the printer history, I can save the entire report or see exactly who used what. So here's the owner. I can see here that Blake was using the printer. But again, these are the folks that are in the specific account, and you would have to be invited. Is that, go ahead.
We have a question also from Germany. Mr. Morrow would like to know, how can I change the printer's name?
Oh, okay. Good question. We are working on that. You cannot do it today, but actually it's coming very soon. I might even have a version that allows me to do it, so it's very, very soon. So as I mentioned, we have a new release of the software every month, so stay tuned. It could be a month or two before that happens, but we're working on it.
Okay, thank you. Then Rock is asking again a question about the printer history. Will there be printer history possible offline? Serious companies forbid to send their information about printed jobs and materials consumptions to the cloud. And then he gives an example like we do have today in Catalyst X or Control Center.
Yeah. So definitely working on it. Right now, you do have just the ability to do it online. And again, that's because of all the remote printers that we want to incorporate. But we are looking into that. The main thing about that, of course, is that, as I continue to mention, the logging in, which account would you be a part of if you were offline? By the way, great question about offline here is If I go to the system preferences and I want to go to privacy, there is a full offline mode here, and I can see a lot of people are using the application as they're pointing out some of the things that we're working on. So right here is the offline mode. If I go ahead and select that, it will completely log me out, and none of the information that customers are sending to the printers is being sent to any of the reporting capabilities or the remote monitoring, or obviously you cannot use the cell phone to track anything or get notifications of that nature. But you can certainly use the printer offline. Any other questions to that effect?
So I don't see any questions at the moment.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Why don't I do this? I will insert a new project. We can import a vermal files. Here I'll take a file that was generated in SolidWorks and textured in, I believe, 3D Studio Max. So it has some gradients and things of that nature, just some nice colors that show the capabilities of the J750. But here's the actual component. Of course, there's a gradient texture on there. And like I said, we've just added the ability to import a vermal file. So you can put that right on the tray and use all the operations as you normally would. So again, those are the key things. Obviously, the main point is to make this as easy as possible to use for brand new users to 3D printing. Of course, many of the software packages that exist today, actually all of them, we haven't sunsetted any of the software, so feel free to absolutely use Catalyst, Insight, Objet Studio, PolyJet Studio. All of those still exist. In fact, if you really truly need the power of Insight, we've added the ability to launch it right within GrabCAD Print. And if you need custom groups or you need to modify toolpaths, that's what the software looks like today. But again, moving forward, what we're trying to do is bring new people into the 3D printing world by making it simple, easy, and intuitive. And again, secondly, of course, the accessibility, right? Bringing the ability to see printers from around the world. Many of our customers have printers in different parts of the world. Let's say there's a printer in Boston, there's a printer in Germany, there's a printer in the UK. Those folks now have the ability to connect all those printers and see what's happening on every single one of them, as opposed to just seeing what's happening in the office. So those are the types of things that we're trying to solve with this current version of the software. One final thing before we wrap up here and take additional questions if we want to is I will start a new project again, and I can import a file here that is an STL file, and this particular file has an error. So I just want to kind of show that if you have STL files or vermal files that have potential issues, and this kind of course, in the STL world, the file has no scale, so of course it comes in sometimes very large, sometimes very small. You do have to go over to the units, and in this case I have it on millimeters. I can set it to centimeters or inches, whatever I need to set it to. And this is showing me that there's an error on this file. And I can go over here and select the analysis mode, and I can see on some of the colored faces that they're self-intersecting. If I zoom in a little bit, I can see that a little bit better here. And of course, a single quick button, just repair the file. Takes a few seconds, and I can then send a watertight file to the printer. We find that a lot of customers are using this functionality, not having to open up a separate package and Of course, that costs money as well as time, and then they can go ahead and hit the print button there. So let's see, we'll go back to the presentation. There is a ton of online help. There's a getting started guides. There's all kinds of documentation here. Please, 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 go ahead and look through that. If there's any questions, potentially it might be answered in that. Matter of fact, I do want to point out that we have the ability to give feedback right within the software. Again, another key capability of being connected here. You can submit any kind of product enhancement request here. It'll shoot this specific email straight to our support team. They should be able to get back to you within probably minutes, but maybe sometimes 30 minutes or so. And you can add files in case there's issues with the files if you need to, as well as include the logs just to make sure that we can track that. That is being used by thousands of customers at the moment, and we're getting a ton of feedback, and that's how we decide what to put into the product each month. As I mentioned, we have certainly some very happy customers that are using the product today. Safilo was in our beta program. They are using CATIA files, and they're able to print. They're able to fill up their tray and print the whole thing. They're very, very happy with the system as it stands today, and it's working out. And it's as simple in terms of installing the software and getting access to the software. It's pretty much as simple as going to this link here, grabcad.com/print. For customers that have technical folks in their region, we certainly would recommend speaking with those folks and getting a bit more intimate, with the features and functions if they have any questions. And we have, of course, certification exams and things like that if you really want to become an expert in the software. And with that, I will pass it back and say thank you. I can certainly stick around for questions if there are any questions.
So actually there's one more written question, and after that we can open also the pipeline for open questions. Is there a difference between the calculation of the slides from Catalyst and GrabCAD, or will the model look exactly the same slice algorithm?
Yeah, so the software is using Insight. Catalyst uses Insight. For FDM technology, it's all based off the Insight platform. So yeah, we're using the same thing, and that of course has been developed over, I'll say, I guess 15 years or so. So very robust.
So I don't
Any other questions?
No further written questions. If anyone wants to place a question himself directly, he should maybe use the raise hand function in the next 1-2 minutes. So no questions so far, or maybe we can also answer them via email in case they're coming later on. No, so thank you. We just have some thank yous. Then probably we are done. Thank you very much, Mark.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
As said, we will record. We have recorded the webinar. We will place it on Train Me on 3D also for your colleagues, and we will send out an email some 1, 2, 3 hours after the webinar, and share with you the presentation of Mark and the recorded version of the webinar. Thank you very much for your time, and wish you a great day ahead. And we will end the webinar with this. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Nice afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.